Hi and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Today we're going to take a look at the Meng model German heavy tank Sd.Kfz 182 King Tiger workable tracks. So in looking on YouTube and on the internet, I haven't found too many actual build reviews of these tracks. I mean, there's been passing mention of them. I found a video on YouTube that was in Russian or some Central or Eastern European language that I didn't understand. He did show how to assemble and the tracks and what they look like and all that kind of stuff. But I figured I'd go ahead and do one for my viewers, anybody else who might be interested in it. Now, the reason I'm using these tracks is I'm building the Tacom King Tiger with Porsche turret, and it comes with individual link tracks. They have to be glued together, similar to Dragon Magic tracks. Now, in this particular case, that wasn't going to work for me because I needed to get the tracks put together on the vehicle and then be able to remove them because I like to do my tracks separate from the vehicle. I like to get some weathering done on the vehicle and the wheels and all that kind of stuff, do the tracks separately, then put them on, and I'm good to go. And it just wasn't working out because of the way I handled it. So I had to come up with another idea, and this was it. So I will post a link in the comments below, and maybe up in the this corner here, with a link to the initial video about that kit if you would like to follow along with that. And then for those that are watching that, this will be incorporated into that build so you can see what's going on. So enough of that. So this is what they look like. Plastic parts come with metal pins. The instructions on the back kind of give you a breakdown. Now, initially I didn't know this torsion bar assembly came with it, but it does. And that must be for the basic King Tiger kit by Meng that doesn't come with an interior. If you want to put the workable suspension and torsion bar assembly, you can. If anybody has any idea on that, please let me know in the comments. And then this section here is on the actual tracks themselves. It comes with track length A, track length B, and 2 types of pins. It also comes with the torsion bar assembly here. Now it shows here E1, which is a jig, track assembly jig, but I'm assuming that comes with the actual kit itself, so you can use it for either these tracks or the separate link tracks. So it's not in this box. So let's take a look at the parts themselves. So first we have track link A. This is the one with the guide horns, and as you can see here, they're molded quite nicely, and there are no ejector pin marks, none. There's no visible seam line on these particular track links, and cleanup should be pretty easy. Cut it there to get it off of the little runner, and then cut it flat to get it flush with the actual track itself. I think minimal sanding will be required on those, but that is track link A. Then we have track link B, which is the flat portion. Again, there's no ejector pin marks, nice detail, and same cleanup method, same molding method. It's kind of on the end and on the top, but it should be really easy to clean up. Now it does look like there might be a little bit of a seam, a mold seam line here, but because of the way these tracks to go together, I don't think having to sand all those will be necessary, although it would probably be pretty easy. But that is track link B. And we have the first of the two types of pins. Now I'm going to try and get this up here so you can actually see what they look like. You have the long portion, and then you have the head, which has a protrusion, which I'm assuming is supposed to represent the track pin. Now these go on the outside edge of the track, so like on this side here. On the inside, use these other pins, which are basically the same, but they don't have that protrusion on the head. It's just a flush head. All right, so got me a box here so I can start separating these out. So I'm going to cut a few of these off of here, both types, and see how easily they clean up. And then from there I'll clean them all up and then start doing some assembly on some. So let's start with this one here. Get a few of these cut off. And the instructions call for 90 pieces each. Now, this plastic seems a little bit different than regular styrene. Now, I could be mistaken, but it just seems a little bit softer, a little bit more pliable. Okay, let's try it two different ways. So, with these kind of connection points, sometimes you can clean them off just by doing this, and it works. Yeah, this plastic seems to be a little bit softer. It's almost like, for those of you familiar with it, it's almost like the plastic that companies like Tamiya make their poly caps for wheels. It's almost that type of material. Okay, so this is going to take a little bit of sanding, so let's see how it sands. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty easy. Now, I'm lazy, and I'm not much one generally for doing stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be done. This side here, I don't think would be as crucial to get clean because that's going to be on the inside of the track, but you know, no sense in cutting corners. If you got some good cutters though, that cleanup is going to be minimal. So as you can see, there's going to be a little bit of somewhat tedious work. It looks good from the end though. I'm just going to do all the ones that I cut off that one thing. Now here's a bit of flash. That's kind of weird, but it's flat, so I just cut it off like that. Okay. Yeah, good cutters is kind of a big thing on these. I think if you use the other type of cutters, like say these, and I'll try one here in a second, these type as opposed to these type, it might not be quite so tidy. Yeah, they clean up well. So this would be a tedious thing, and that's not necessarily bad, because if you got yourself some music or a good podcast or something like that going, you can just while away the time. Right now, these days, I don't think time for a lot of people is that big of a deal. Okay, so this is, let's try this. Not too bad, but definitely not as clean, but totally doable. You could probably even, I'm trying to think of different ways that people do this kind of stuff, and you know, because not everybody has the same tools. Let's see how it would be with a knife. First, let's cut that part there. That actually works pretty good. Not too bad. So yeah, you could do it with a knife even. I would definitely not use side cutters, which are sometimes referred to as dikes. The regular old, you know, pinch type wire cutter type things. I wouldn't use those because I think that would just kind of more mash the plastic together and it would be kind of grody. So this time on these, I'm going to cut those a little closer to the end of the track like that. And I'll do 4 because that's how many of the other links I have. Actually, I'll do 5 because there's 5 on this one side. You're not hearing the familiar click that you usually get when cutting regular styrene. It reminds me of the plastic that's used for like brands like Kaizen tracks. Same type of material. It's kind of a little bit softer. So that's not bad. Now these would be easier to sand because you could do the whole flipping side at once if you wanted. Now it looks like there might be, you know, like a little divot there, but that's just discoloration, I think, from this plastic being stressed. As it's being cut. We'll cut all these off. So I'm really thinking it wouldn't be a real long drawn out process, any worse than doing any other tracks. And from some of the stuff I've heard about, let's see, some sets of Fruel tracks, the metal tracks, sometimes you have to clean out every single track pin hole because it's not quite, you know, because they're white metal and they're not quite clear, so you can't stick the track pin wire in there very easily. So all tracks have their drawbacks, so you just have to figure out the kind you prefer to work with and stick with them when you can. Doesn't hurt to try new stuff, but you know, some people don't like to experiment too much. I like to find something that works well and go from there. All right. So there's those. So these go together like this. Now I can totally see where the track jig would be helpful because it doesn't sit flush there or there. Okay, now once you get one side in like this, then this acts as a bridge and you can go there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set me up, yeah, see, like that. I'm going to set me up a some tape that I can stick this to that might help in putting the pins in. All right, so I've got all of the parts cut out, cleaned up, ready to go. So I was going to use a piece of tape on the surface here and just lay the links out, but the part that would stick onto the tape are just these cleats, and that's not enough to keep it positioned well. So I thought, you know, a jig would be best, but I don't have one. So I decided to make one. And here is what I came up with. And the reason I use these particular parts is because it's what I had in my drawer. So what I used was some styrene sheet. The thickness doesn't really matter. Thicker is probably better, just because, you know, gluing the parts won't warp it. It is, and the length, I guess, doesn't really matter either, because you can make it whatever you want. This is about 3 7/8, or for those who use the incorrect measuring methods, looks like about 98 millimeters. And then for these parts here, I used just Plastruct I-beam, the size being 5/32, or 4 millimeter, and the Evergreen scale models, item number 285. And then I also used some just strip stock, which is also Evergreen 134. It's 0.030 inches by 0.080 inches. And here's the way I did it. So I wanted to have something that would fit in between these guide horns here. And what I discovered would work was a piece of this I-beam material and a piece of this right here. And hopefully you can see that it fits pretty good. It's a little teeny tiny, well, not really. It's not really sloppy at all. It fits really well. So what I did is I cut my base to length, cut this to length, cut this to length, and then I carefully glued this along the top edge. I'm not sure it was necessary to be like ultra precise about it, but I was. And then I put this in the middle here, as you can see. Okay, then I got another piece, glued it next to it here, leaving just a little slot, and then I put another piece out here more for support. So here's what it looks like with the link installed. Okay, so it doesn't move much side to side. I probably could have put this here to make it additionally, but there's not really, I'm not really gaining anything by doing that, so there's no sense in wasting extra material, but it gives it support out on the ends. Then from there I can take the parts and, holy cow, turn it the appropriate direction and put it together like that. And like that. And the nice thing is these things fit right together. There's not a lot of forcing having to go on. Whoops. like that. And I like that. We'll just do that for now. Okay, so I've got those on there. That holds it pretty well. Then, in order to get these ultra tiny pins put in place, here's what I did. So I didn't want to dump these out, and I cut a very small hole right there. So we just take push one. So for this particular time, I need 1, 2, 3, 4 pins. I'm just going to do one right now just to show you how I'm doing it. And I'm doing it the same for both sides. Now it's important to keep in mind that the pins with no extra protrusion on the head goes on the inside, which in this case is over here. Okay, then I just take, and on the end of a toothpick with a little bit of poster tack, I just hold it in place, put it right there, and push it in. And that is the way you do it. Continue on there, get the other pins, do it on the other side. And I did this one fairly quickly earlier, and there it is. And they seem to fit pretty snug, so I don't think you would have to worry about the pins falling out. So that is the way it works. Let me do one more, just for fun. Again, we're doing the inside. And occasionally you'll have to remanipulate this. I'm sure there's other ways to do this. Some people might be able to do it with tweezers. I'd be too scared that I would send one flying off into oblivion. So I figured this was the safest way, because at least it gives it something to stick to. See, it went twisty, but it didn't go anywhere. Just like that. All right, so that's all there is to putting them together. All right, and here we have it. A whole strip. Now, how long did it take? I have no idea. I did it in a number of different sittings over the last little bit since, well, it's been a couple of days since I did the last clip, and it actually doesn't take that long. I would do sections about this long, set about 3 of them aside, counted them, and then started paying attention to how many I was doing. The box says to do 90 links each side, and that's exactly 90 links, with the one on this side being the flat one, and the one on this side being the one with the guide horns. The pins seem to stick really well. There were 2 pins on this side that seemed, those are the inner pins that are just flat, and 2 of those were really kind of loose. So I just took a little bit of super glue on my custom super glue application tool and just put a little dab on the side that, you know, the inner side of the link, so it wouldn't interfere with the next link and potentially cause any problems with flexibility. Now I can't even see where I put that glue, so that's a good thing. The ones on the outside of the track, the one that has like the extended pin part, All those fit really snug. I didn't have any problems getting any of them inserted, other than if I had it crooked in my little installation tool, but no real problems. And as you can see, they work really, really well. So I've already test fit them on the TACOM. Now this is obviously, these are made by Meng, and so obviously they're going to fit on there. But I did a test fit for the TACOM kit, and fits perfectly. The teeth on the drive sprocket fit perfectly. The spacing's correct. 90 links gives it the proper amount of sag on the top of the run. So overall, I have to say these are really, really nice tracks, and for the price, a good investment if you don't like the gluable individual length tracks, similar to what Dragon and other companies like that do. Really flexible. I don't foresee any problems whenever I actually install them onto the running gear. I might even be able to, get them attached first and then put them on, because I haven't glued on the sprocket, the drive sprocket yet. But, if you were to do it on the drive sprocket side, just hold it in place. You can get your pins started. I don't think it'd be an issue at all. So I think these would be a really good addition to obviously the main kit or a TACOM kit. And truth be told, it would probably fit on other brands of King Tiger as well. Tamiya, who knows? But they work really well. Worth the price and worth the effort. Now, in comparison to other types of tracks, I would say these remind me a lot of Kaizen tracks. Same kind of material, with the exception that on Kaizen tracks, the pin, you're using wire as a brass rod as opposed to pins, and it goes all the way through. Other than that, they really remind me of it. Same kind of weight, same flexibility, and kind of a similar price, I would say. So anyway, that's that. That is the wrap up of the Meng German heavy tank Sd.Kfz 182 King Tiger workable tracks. I think it's a good addition, and I can totally recommend them. So with that, I thank you for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and this quick review of this product. And if you have any questions, comments, hints, tips, etc., put them in the comments down below. If you have any experience with these tracks, good or bad, I'd like to hear about it in the comments as well. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see you all later.